welcome to another episode of Damsels After Dark. If you're new here, I'm Crystal.
And I'm Kristen.
And in our corner of the internet, we rant, rave, obsess, love, hate on all things books.
Today we'll be reviewing The Last Hour of Gann by R. Lee Smith.
The structure of our episodes generally are just a brief review or a brief summary, then we give our reviews, and then we jump into spoilers, but we'll give you a warning before then.
If you'd like to follow along with us, our reading and review schedule will be linked in the description below.
Without further ado,
let's jump into it.
So we discussed last episode, but if you didn't see the very end of Godmother's episode, we talked a little bit about the theme for February, and since it's the month of love, we thought we would do a cool spin on it.
Yes.
We don't want to do regular love because we do love all the time. So I really grabbed Kristen and said, hey, let's do something funky.
Let's do monster love. And I was like, no, Crystal, please don't do this to me again.
Kristen, I'm here to spice up your shit, to throw these curveballs at you and keep you guessing.
Yeah, you really do, because yeah. But I don't really hate on this too much, because it is kind of like throwing me that curveball that I kind of like in my mundane reading sometimes, and I need it every now and then, but god damn, like, there's some funny ass covers.
There are, and I need to give you some more books to hate on.
Yeah, like I need more.
I think you do. I think we do. Sometimes we be loving too many books, and I need to hear some ranting in here.
I don't think that's a bad thing that I love that.
It's not, but I love our hate on episodes, even though it's probably, not the best to say. But I do love when we are ranting on a book.
They are fun to film too.
They're fun, and there's nothing better than it's fun to get with your girlfriends and love on a book, but it is just as fun to get with your girlfriend and just hate on some shit. But
hate.
I'm feeling pretty confident about these books. So yeah, like she said, they're monster romances, and we went out of our way to pick different monsters, and not the easy a dragon, which
everybody loves a dragon.
Everybody loves a dragon, or a devil or a demon. Those are too humanoid.
Yeah.
I really said monster.
Yeah, you did. You went in there with the monster thing. You're like, no, we can't do anything that we already have been reading and we can relate to. We need something that will get us out of our comfort zone and make us cringe a little and be like, well,
Yeah, I need something that doesn't resemble in any shape or form
a human.
Or a traditional, because these are smut romances, right? Or a traditional male member.
Oh my god.
I don't want it to
These
be
are not
normal.
Yeah.
So anyways, yeah. So we picked alien, snake, or basilisk, I think is what it is. Gargoyle and
Minotaur.
A Minotaur, that's right. Yeah. So, and it's funny because we went in to this wanting to be jokey and kind of we didn't think they were making real serious monster books, but apparently there are. And somehow Kristen and I found two serious ones, and then we did two that are supposed to be less serious, don't take themselves all that serious.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm excited for this. So this first pick is obviously the alien one. Yeah. If you've seen the cover.
Oh, it's an obvious alien.
And not a humanoid alien. It is a straight up lizard. There's scales.
Yeah.
There's
the member isn't human member.
Not at all.
Yeah, it's described in detail.
Yeah. Yeah. She really wants you to picture that.
Yeah.
But so my question is to Kristen, so do you think you will be enticed?
So no. I didn't think I was going to be enticed for this particular book.
I want to do a poll before to get us there. So Alien, you've already read Alien, but Alien, do you think you'll be enticed?
No, I didn't think I was. I was open to the idea, depending on the description. If I was going to be like, okay, I could manage this. I was really open to the idea, but no, I was not expecting to be enticed, and I guess you'll have to listen to the rest of our review to find out if I was.
Same.
Yeah.
Especially a lizard.
Yeah.
A lizard was weird, and I was thinking the same. I think that's going to be a hard no. Yeah. So gargoyle.
Oh, it depends on the gargoyle too. The cover The cover of the book, I was like, I probably could, but it depends on a lot of other factors. But based off the cover, I was like, they're still kind of humanoid.
Yes.
So I was like, I could still kind of go with that. The horns on the head don't bother me.
And he's like rock texture.
Yeah. So I was like, I don't know. I mean, who knows? I think I'm a little bit more apt to the gargoyle than I am to the lizard.
Yes.
But it depends on what the gargoyle looks like. And if we're going off the cover of the gargoyle, I would be a little, like, I guess I'd be more prone to that one.
So maybe for gargoyle.
Yeah.
That's Celeste.
See, that's very similar to the lizard.
Yeah.
In my opinion. So I guess it depends if he shapeshifts and like how much of the lizard feel he has. Or sorry, snake feel.
Yeah, because like what? Because I'm trying to put it in my head.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm trying to do the imaginings, and if it doesn't move out of a shape of a snake,
then it's a definite no.
It's a definite no.
Yeah.
Yeah, because that's too wormy.
Yeah. I don't, snaily, wormy, scaly, don't like it.
Yeah.
But if he shifts into a human and parts of him are human, then maybe. But if he's not a shifter at all, then it's a no.
What if he has something like the alien situation? Because we know what his looks like. So what if we got something like that?
No. I feel like if he still maintains anything outside the humanoid form, I can't do it. I immediately can't. Because now I feel like I'm messing around with some weird creature, and I feel like I can't do that. Like, if you stay in the humanoid form and you still have, like, you just have, like, little add-ons, like horns on your fucking head, or a missing finger, but you still look very similar to a human, I would be fine. But, like, even the color of your skin, if it's different, and the texture, if it's slightly different, as long as it's not slimy.
Yeah. But, like, a snake is so weird because it's, even if it's a big snake, it's like, what do I what do I do?
Yeah, I don't think I can do it if it's just a snake.
Yeah, form. I'm excited to read that one though, because I have no concept of even, I don't have enough knowledge to formulate what could possibly be happening if you're not shapeshifting.
Agreed.
So I'm happy to be opening my horizons now.
It depends on the shapeshifting ability.
It does, yeah.
Same with the Minotaur. Like, I don't know, I don't think I could. Mm-hmm. Because there's too much animal involved.
Same. I feel like that's like a hard pass.
Too close to animal. Like, I feel like I'm fucking a bull. And can't do it.
No. Yeah.
I feel like we would just stay friends. Like, I feel like I wouldn't mind, hey, you're what's the word I'm looking for? You're a talking being. Sentient. You're a sentient being. Like, you know, I feel like, no, I'm not going to fuck you. Like,
same. Because it is way too close.
Too close to animal.
To an animal.
Too much bestiality at that point. It's like, okay.
Yes. Same. Absolute same.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're on the same wavelength here. Yeah. So now I'm just real excited to see each of these books and see if they manage to. Because really right now, all we've really got is the gargoyle.
Yeah.
A slight possibility for the alien, but that's dependent upon a lot of things.
Yeah, it's a very huge amount of stuff. But I was leaning towards a no on this one.
Well, I'm excited. We'll come back to this question when we do the very last episode, so we could see if your book was able, well, not your book, but the author's book was able to convince us to bring us over to the wild side, if you will. I'm really excited, but and thanks to Kristen for humoring me through this, because this is going to be a wild ride. I know it.
Yes. we just started. We really haven't read most of these books yet. We've just really read this one that we're doing today.
So perfect time to ask it. But now we can jump into the moment you've all been waiting for, is to get our summary of The Last Hour of Gann. Yes. Essentially, this story is just about our main character, Amber. It follows our main character, Amber. And we meet her and her sister at their mother's funeral. And essentially, this is like a dystopian future in America. So right in the very beginning, they're discussing how they're going to continue to live in the apartment that they have, or if they can get their own apartment. And it comes down to the fact that for some reason in this dystopian future, there are wage caps. So they can't make any more money at what they're doing now, unless they want to work on the street as like a prostitute, which is just something that their mom did to be able to afford this life. So it's between that, or there's this billionaire that's funding this colonization of another planet, and it's called Manifest Destiny. And you can sign up to do this for like a 5-year contract, and you get some money, and Amber really wants to do this. Her sister doesn't want to do this, but they end up doing it anyways. And so they board this ship. It's supposed to be a 3-year trip, but they're in these like sleeper pods the entire time. Oh, they're supposed to be. And they're supposed to wake up when they get to the new planet. Something happens on the way there, and I think this is in the description. As it always does.
It always will do. Always something in space.
And they crash onto some random planet. There was like 50,000 of them to start in this ship, and a significant amount of them get wiped out. They just get wiped out. I was going to go into a little bit more detail, but I won't. So they get wiped out, and then we switch to a different POV, which is the male main character, Miorak. That's the alien, and he actually sees a column of fire.
Yeah.
And he thinks that it's his god beckoning him on this pilgrimage. So he goes out there, but he ends up finding these humans. And so the story basically is him on his path to take these humans to this super important temple that's on the other side of their world, essentially. And he's on this long pilgrimage with the humans. And so it is just sort of his POV and her POV as they maneuver through the obstacles to get them to this sacred temple.
Yeah. And there's different beliefs on what the sacred temple is. And there's different beliefs on how they should go about doing it. The human belief and, you know, even the humans within that so-called grouping that's there. And the alien Miorak's belief on why they're there and why they're going to the holy temple. So there's different beliefs on what that holy temple is. Along the way, they see a bunch of things. You deal with world building and a bunch of different type of animals and, you know, language barriers and stuff like that. It's a very sci-fi type of book. It's not fantasy romance by any means. It's more in the sci-fi direction. So there's a lot of world building. There's a lot of miscommunication. If you're not a miscommunication person, this is going to drive you crazy with the miscommunication. There's tons of it in this book. Some purposely done and some accidentally done. Mm-hmm. Not by the authors, but by the people in the book. Some of them miscommunicate basically by language barrier. But it's a very big open world for this book, and you go through a lot of ups and downs, trials, tribulations. Just a lot of trauma. Mm-hmm. So warning, trigger warning. Yeah. Lots of issues that is going on. There's death, there's abuse, there's sexual assault, suicide, that's there. Yeah. It's a lot, there's lots there. And it's definitely for a mature reader. I wouldn't suggest anybody under the age of 18 reading this book.
No, yeah, this is pretty intense. And it's long, too.
Very, very long. Kindle says 701 pages, but I say it's closer to 1,400.
Yeah, it feels like a trilogy.
Yeah, because every 3 presses to the right to turn the page, when I was turning the page, they did not increase my book page.
Yeah, Goodreads says it's like 700 and something pages, but then when I was reading through people's reviews, somebody said it was 1,000 pages.
Yeah, it's closer, in my opinion. It's over 1,000.
Yeah.
Because I never had taken that long to read a 700-page book.
Yeah.
So it felt more closer to like 1,000 to 1,400, like somewhere within that range. I would say between 1,000 and 1,400.
Yeah.
For pages. When we looked at the timing, it said for me 37 hours on my Kindle.
Yeah, mine also said about the same.
It was ridiculous.
Yeah, and the book is broken up into different books.
Parts. Yeah, book parts.
And there's chapters within them. But so it would tell me like 5 hours to the next chapter. I'm like, wait, what?
Yeah, when that meant to the next book part. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, this book has a lot of themes about sort of a fall of a civilization, sort of construction of religion, and how that plays a role in society and things like that. So I think it's a really good, thought-provoking book.
It is.
On its own, on the surface, its structure. But anyways, so that's this summary. Kristen, do you want to do your review?
My rating, I gave it a 3.5 out of 5, and the reason for that is not that it's a bad book. It's a good book, and I kept telling myself, why wouldn't I give it a 4? I mean, I rated it a 4 on Goodreads because I didn't want to put it a 3 because I don't believe it's a 3. It's definitely a solid 3.5 for me. Mostly because it was a long, drawn out book, and I felt there was so much that made me bored. I had to drudge through a lot of it, and even it's not that it was bad either. I just felt like it was definitely huge world building, and for sci-fi world builder, I'm not really into sci-fi world building. More of a fantasy world builder, and it's really different. Not that it's hugely different, because it really isn't if you think about it. Sci-fi world building and fantasy world building, aren't they both fantasy?
Yeah.
Practically. It's just it's the way direction it goes into. It goes more into instead of fantastical, beautiful worlds with beautiful plants and like beautiful foresty areas. We're talking more of like, oh, these ruins are decrepit and ancient robots are going in and out of. It's like, okay,
it's technology and
so
aliens.
bored. Yeah, like it's boring to me. The visuals are boring to me.
Yeah.
So like I could picture it very well. I'm just bored with the atmosphere. I'm bored with the technicalities of the issues that they're having. They're not like, oh, my magic is depleted. It's this robot is doing this here, and it's just like, okay.
Or also, it feels sometimes like we're talking about governmental structures,
yes,
and cultural structures, and you're not dealing with that.
Buildings. Yeah. I'm just like,
and you're not dealing with that in fantasy. Again, you're dealing with my magic is depleted, or how do I save this kingdom? It's not like political or governmental or robots.
Yes,
100%.
Or even a fall of a civilization in sci-fi is boring to me compared to a fall of a civilization in fantasy. They're in the same direction, different paths, but going in the same direction. It's funny. But yeah, I felt like because of the boring, things that sci-fi brings, it just toned it down for me quite a bit. And the story was dragged on. There was so many parts where I'm just like, this isn't necessary. I get where you're going with this, but we really have to drag this hostage situation for like 5 fucking hours. Like I'm done with this. But overall it was good. I did like the world building, even though I was bored with it. I thought the world building was great.
Yeah,
it gave me a lot of visuals that I needed to continue the story. Like the author was a really good writer. Like the trauma that's induced into this book. I say induced into the book, not induced into me, because I was just like, I'm done with this. It was really well written. Gave me a lot of things. There was a few little plot holes here and there that also lowered my score in this, because I just didn't understand the language that, and we'll talk about more in spoilers issue parts. But the issue I have is that the language, sometimes it was like, okay, they're definitely speaking English. They're definitely speaking Lizard. Then there's times I'm just like, what language are they speaking right now? How do they know that this is English when they're supposed to be speaking Lizard? How did the English people know that that's what there's... I feel like there's just a little bit of things where it's just like, did the author realize that they still didn't understand Lizard yet? So I'm very confused in that. I'll have to get to that in the spoilers, because it was... I don't know if I was just not reading it properly and I was confused, but I feel like if it wasn't clear, because sometimes it wasn't clear, and there was a lot of times where the author would kind of just like, I felt like the author was even sick of writing it, and then they would just be like, oh, this happened, and now we're here. You'll probably know exactly what part I'm talking about.
I don't know what part you're talking about.
It's closer to the end.
Oh, okay. You'll have to tell me.
Yeah, because I'm just like, so that whole section is just gone? How did they get here? So that was one of the plot holes too. I was just like...
Okay, we'll have to talk about that.
Yeah.
Talk about, because I don't remember.
Yeah, it's at the end.
Okay.
But yeah, that's my spicy review. I gave it a 1, only because there's spice in it, but it wasn't great spice, and I felt like maybe I should have given it a little bit more, but I don't know why I didn't give it a little bit more. I just felt like it wasn't a sexual book for me, so I felt like the spicy was more just because they had sex. Yeah. And it wasn't described. It was described, but it wasn't described in a
sexy manner.
Yes. So I gave it a 1.
And a lot of what was being described, when she was describing it, it was sexual abuse that was happening that she was describing. Yeah. But when there was romantic sex, it wasn't described.
Exactly. I'm just like, I'm a little confused as to, and I don't know. I was just really confused at the smut writing. It was like, is this smut writing or is it not smut writing?
My takeaway from how she did it was that she's just describing it. So like when she was doing the essay, like you have to describe kind of what's going on because it wasn't the same every time. So she was sort of explaining what this scenario looked like. But when she was doing romance, it was just like this happened. But because I don't think she wanted. Like, I don't think she was trying to write a smut novel. No. She was just using it to tell you this is happening and this is happening.
Agreed. I agree. I don't believe this was a smut novel at all.
No. It was certainly not meant to make you happy. It was meant to be like,
I would even say it didn't make me feel like the author was trying to get me to be in any kind of romantic situation with the two characters. No. Even though there was... I didn't feel like she was trying... The emphasis was on their romance. I feel like the emphasis was on their journey.
Yeah. And sort of that was just a result of... Yeah. That's just kind of what happened and bloomed out of the journey. But that wasn't the point of it.
What about yours?
Yeah, so I gave it a little bit higher. I gave it a 4.5. I did not rate it a full 5 because... This is not a book I'm going to be, like, daydreaming and, like, wishing I was back into. Yeah. But I really liked it. And this is way out of my wheelhouse because Kristen did a great job of summing it up. But yeah, the visuals for sci-fi are always boring. And I'm never interested in reading sci-fi books. I just happened to fall into this one because it was a highly, highly rated monster book. Yeah. But anyway, so I gave it a 4 out of 5 because I loved the story. It does feel monumental, and there's a lot of movement happening, and there's a lot going on, but I was never bored with this book, and I spent, like, hours reading this book, and I was, like, in it. I had on my spaceship ambiances. I had my wine. Oh, my God, you did. I was here, and it's been a long time since I've been in this mindset of, I'm not doing shit. My house is crumbling apart, and I'm like, I'm just here to read. It's been a while since I've been in that mindset, so the fact that this book put me in here already gets it like a solid 4. Yeah. And I liked the topics that are touched upon this in this book because they're deep and they're thought-provoking. And there were a couple times I'm like, there's a lot of essay going on. Yes. And then it felt like too much. But then when you get to the end, it doesn't feel like she did it because she wants to write about it or she did it because this is her vindictive version of what the world is. It was purposeful at the end. So, like, you kind of understand it. So I didn't let that bother me. I mean, it bothers you when you're reading about it because you don't want to read about it.
But there's a purpose for it.
There's a purpose for it, and it makes sense when you get there.
You got to wait to the end to actually understand it, though. Yes. It took a little bit, yeah.
Also, I thought this book was funny as fuck. I was laughing my ass out. Mia Rack is moving a good chunk of toddlers from one end of the world to the other, one end of the continent to the other. And it's fucking funny. Like, and I love this scenario that she crafts up to of Miorak is essentially the sword of God. And he has so much privilege in his station. And, like, towns bend to his will. People bend to his will. He comes in and he's like, I'm taking over this place. And everyone's like, yes, holy master. And when he's set upon people who are not in his culture, and he's like giving out orders and he's expecting this certain level of obedience and respect, and the humans aren't accustomed to this culture, obviously. So they give him none of that. And this dynamic is so fucking funny. It is. And I loved it so much. I loved all of his he's like grumpy. He's grumpy the entire time, and it's so funny. I loved him so much. And I love a male POV, and we get a lot of his POV, even though this is a third person. Yeah. You still have Amber's sides, and you have Miorak, and it's really just those ones. It is only those ones. Mm-hmm. So I really liked all of that. Overall, I was not expecting to like this book as much as I did, and I liked it, and I did end up to answer our question from the very beginning. If I was Amber, and I was in her position, I would be A-okay with this alien.
You know, here's the thing. I think I would be submersed into this world too if I were landed there. And it's not like it's completely out of the realm of like, oh, this is so bad. I mean, I feel like depending on the circumstance, and you know you're going to be stuck there forever, and this guy's protecting you, and he still has somewhat of a humanoid, like, features? Somewhat? Like, like without giving too many spoilers, there's still, when I say features, I mean there's 2 arms, there's a leg, I mean, I don't like the reference term she uses for the area that his male part is in. And I don't want to give that. I don't want to give that spoiler. You have to read it to.
You have to read that word with your lips or your brain. Your whole brain.
I remember having a conversation. We'll have to talk about it spoilers. I don't want to mention what I say right now. But like when I first read it, I had to talk to Crystal, and I was just like, you have to tell me if I'm reading this right, because like the description of his member for the first time, I'm just like, once.
And the author makes sure you know that that's what it is, because that's how it happens the rest of the book.
Yeah, I had to read it like several times the very first time, and I'm like, I'm reading this wrong. Crystal's just gonna have to tell me if I'm reading this right. And then when you texted me and told me, oh, you're reading it right, I was like, okay, this is where we're going with it. Yeah. And there's no mistaking it. Like you said, after so many other times later down the road, there is no mistaking it.
Yeah, the words exactly
used are purposeful. So it's just like, okay, I guess I'm reading it right. But yeah, I agree. I would feel like I don't think I would actually hate on the circumstance if it was Miorek.
Yeah.
I think if any other lizard guys in the book had been the one who found her, I would hate on that.
No, it's just specifically him.
Just him and him alone.
And it's a while to get there too, which I like. Like, it wasn't, you see him, at least for me. So it's like you see him, you meet him, and you're like, oh my God, he's so dreamy. It took a while because he has embedded into him a foundation of how he views the world and how he views his station, the station of women, the station of men. And that's already a gross turnoff. His worldview. But when that starts to break down a little bit,
he also shows like little bits of how he hates it though.
Yes, and I like that about him. And so when it starts to break down more of this foundation, like, you like him more. And there's a moment where he is away from Amber, and then when they come back together, he is like this. The possessiveness comes out, and I'm like, that's it. This is the moment, and it's got to be like 3/4 through the book that it finally happens. So I'm like, ding, okay, he's won. And then I went hunting for some fan art, and I found a fan art, and I'm like, you know what?
Yeah,
yes, the answer is yes.
Yeah, I was like, you sent it to me. I was just like,
I'll post it here too, so that you guys can all ogle over it.
It's kind of fun. It's funny.
But anyways, so yeah, 3.5, and a 4.5.
Yeah.
Okay, so like always, I will do the Goodreads because we're pretty high. I did the 1 stars this time. But overall, The Last Hour of Gann got 4.1 out of 8,542 ratings.
That's not too bad.
Not too bad.
Yeah.
And like always, I'm going to read the 1-star reviews. This first one is from Shasha. This story is intense. Fantastic main characters. They make mistakes, reap the consequences, grow and change, and aren't pretty. The rest are one-dimensional, stupid, and I hate them right until the end. A tale of survival with an understandable alien world and religion. The romance is fantastic. There is so much meaningless death, gory violence, and graphic rape that it overshadows any good feelings. I will never read this again. I am that twisted up inside. Reminds me of how I felt after reading Ashana, not how I like to feel after reading Flowers. Oh, sorry, I butchered that a lot, and I'm sorry about that. It's so hard to see on here. The next one is from Annette Dahl, Old Vicarious Reader. I tried really hard on this one. DNF. My fault because I should have checked the page count. If I had, I would have known there was excessive verbiage. There was so much detail. I know the reader needs detail. I also fell asleep while reading.
Wow.
And the last one, I'm only going to read the first paragraph that she wrote here. This is from Danny. She said, I would have rated this 0 out of 5 if I could have. The book was the biggest waste of time. It was written by someone who very obviously hates women and wrote a ridiculous long ode to that. I absolutely hated this book. The characters were awful and completely unrelatable. The story droned on and on for ages for no reason. There were so many unnecessarily long chapters in the book that served no purpose at all. The character arcs for 99% of the characters were non-existent. No one learned a single thing. The author pretended trauma didn't exist the entire time. I'm concerned for their mental health after reading what they wrote. I'll post the whole thing here so you can read the rest of what she wrote. But I picked these because, well, one, I mean, a lot of people had a problem with the amount of sexual assault that is there. And I'm curious if all of those people DNF'd the book. Because while there is a lot, it's not, like, done for no reason.
No, there's an actual reason, and it involves a lot of things that are going on in the civilization. Mm-hmm. So, and you kind of, as you read, you kind of could start to see the pieces fall together. Because I did. As I was reading, I was like, I'm starting to understand what's going on here.
Yes.
Sorry. But yeah, like, it's part of the reason for everything that's going on.
For all of the gore and all of the sexual assault.
Yes.
Or the violence, I guess.
All, and it's not, and I'd like to throw in there that it's not just aimed towards women.
100%.
So, like, the whole, they hate women, sure, but there was also the need to protect the women was like how most things are. We need to protect the women, and it's disguised as protecting women when it ends up being hurting women, right?
It ends up,
but it's meant. Yes. Yeah, there's a specific reason for that. And you can't do that until you know the end of it. But however, it wasn't necessarily meant towards women.
Yes.
And you'll start to find that out towards the end. But this essay and the torture and all that stuff didn't just go towards women.
No, it went towards everybody.
It went towards everybody, everything, it's just destruction everywhere.
And I also think, to touch on to your point about, like, the protecting of the women, like, we see this in a lot of some of religions today, right? They're behind this mask of we're hiding these women to protect them.
Yeah.
And to say, I just feel like to hate on this book because it's talking about things that even exist today in real life, I kind of don't like that. I kind of don't like that people would talk negatively about a book that's talking about this as a cultural
because that's
thing.
It happens.
Because it happens. And so, I mean, if that's not your thing, then this isn't a book for you. But to say that you don't like a book because it's talking about a certain aspect of the culture, I don't think is a fair critique.
No.
And this because this book is so heavily based on religion within their culture, like, it's drawing from, again, all of these things that are happening in real life too. Like, none of this felt inauthentic.
No, and you have to get to the end of the book. You have to get to the end of the book to understand the religion, the downfall of civilization, the sexual abuse, the regular, like, death, gore, fighting issues that they have. Like, you cannot understand why all this is happening without getting to the end. The end is probably the most important reason, or most important part of the book to understand the whole book. And yeah, sure, I didn't like reading any of that stuff. Who really does like reading any of that stuff? But those are issues and talking points in the book that are just a normal part of society as well. So it's like, if you don't like that, then you need to understand you don't like a lot of the things that are going on in the world. And that's completely fine. Nobody does.
Yes.
But you can't just say, I don't want to read it and act like it doesn't happen anymore.
Yeah, or hate on this aspect of a book when it's like, well, this is
what really happened.
This is in reality too.
Yeah.
And a lot of this felt like reality.
And what you're telling me is that you don't want to see real world issues.
Yes.
And sure, but then read fantasy. Read fantasy that doesn't have any trigger warnings.
Or read those
trigger warnings.
Hockey, romance.
Yeah, exactly. Read those trigger warnings and understand those books are not for you.
Yeah.
And that is fine. Because, like, I'm sitting here telling you there's a lot of rape. I don't like it. It's too much. But, like, at a certain point, like, no one does like it. It's just, if it's part of the storytelling, then don't knock it down for a trigger warning you just didn't read.
Yes. 100% agree.
Just don't read the book.
And also, a lot of people said that there was too much detail, too much going on. I didn't feel that way. The book is long, and it does go on for a long time. But when I think about what I would cut or what I thought was unnecessary, I don't really feel that way. I don't think that she was overly detailed. It's not like we're reading Tolkien over here, where we're talking about the details of a leaf from a mile away. We're not. No. I didn't feel she did that at all. No. There was a lot of events that happened, but again, when I think about if I would cut anything, I don't really think that there was anything that was like, this was unnecessary. All of it felt like it was purposeful.
I don't think it was unnecessary either. I'm still going to agree with the idea that it was a long, drawn-out book. Sure, that's true. But I feel like it was part of the world building. And I knocked it down for being long and drawn out. But in my opinion, it wasn't that. It was because it was badly done. It was because I was just bored. I was bored. I felt like it just wasn't my way of telling it. So I took the points down because I was bored. So I can understand when someone's like, oh, I fell asleep reading this.
Yes.
Completely agree. I feel like I can understand that. But to say, yeah, all this stuff could have came out. No, I think it needed to be part of the story. I just felt like I was done with the story.
Yeah. So to Danny was saying that the author pretended that trauma didn't exist, but I felt like Amber really embodied how trauma was affecting her, because she went from like this strong, no nonsense girl to, after going through a lot of shit, was now crying and dealing with a lot of trauma. And not only trauma of like some of the events that happened to her, but trauma of her sister and not being home and being alone, and like no thought about how she could get out of this, like a true lonely trauma. And she really convinced me that she was going through it.
Yeah.
Because she was almost like a fraction of herself when we first meet her in the beginning. And so to me, that was a good demonstration of how she was.
Yeah, I mean, I think she goes through, without saying too much, I mean, she definitely shows she went through trauma. I don't feel like the trauma was non-existent. I felt like she kind of had no option but to pick her feet up and keep going, because, I mean, there were certain circumstances that just happened one after another after another after another, where she kind of felt like she had to step in. And that was her personality as a whole, was to shove things down. But like when she finally got a moment, that moment ended up coming out traumatic for her. Like she ended up sitting down and dealing with it.
And also, some people are capable of that. Not everybody is, but some people are capable of going through shit and knowing that you literally have to just pick yourself up and keep fucking going.
And also, if you don't want to look at it from the main female character's perspective on how she handled trauma, there was plenty of other people there that showed what they and how they handled trauma. Yeah. So like I don't think that's necessarily true, that it was trauma was non-existent for the people there. It was there. You saw, but you had to see it through each individual person's eyes. Everybody handled it differently. Some handled it as being a leader in the wrong direction. Some handled it being a leader in the right direction. Some handled it being a follower in the wrong or right direction, you know? Yes. Depending 100%. On how you view things. So like everybody dealt with their trauma differently. Yeah. So, it was just maybe not the way you believed it to be, but this is the author's world, so yeah, they showed the trauma in a different perspective.
And also, Danny says too that it seems like this book was written by somebody who hates women, and I know we kind of touched on that, but like other than the religious and cultural aspects, I don't really see that, because even our main, I mean, I know that so even our main male character, he, like you said, there are cracks in his foundation of how he views certain things. And obviously, well, maybe not obviously, but Amber is not a part of his culture. So she doesn't exhibit any of these cultural norms that he's used to. And they have a romance. So obviously, like, he likes these types of things. So she is a great foundation for a strong, independent woman, which I like. I love Amber a lot.
Yeah, I do too.
And like, he likes her. So to me, this looks more like an ode to a strong female woman than it does to a book about hating on women.
Trying to get out of it. Yeah. Trying to get out of that, like, sexist society that everybody was raised in. Yeah. And you hear that right from the beginning of the book. FYI, that's not a spoiler. Like, the sexist society, patriarchal society, whatever, was definitely at the beginning of the book. So. And he dislikes it. He dislikes it. He even says how many times he dislikes it. The main character, the main guy. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. I liked it.
I liked him. I liked him a lot.
I liked him too.
Yeah. And that goes into our part 2 where we're talking about our most, well, no, that's not actually, that's in our spoilers. Never mind.
But so overall, I mean, I would say that this is a darker book. If you're not used to this, if you're more in a, like, you know, the romantic comedy type books.
Yeah, stick with those then. And there's nothing wrong with that. You obviously, that just means you just don't like these type of books, and that's fine.
100%.
What makes you happy.
But know that this one is not for you. This is a dark book. Yeah. With a lot of SA, a lot of violence, a lot of gore. So yeah, hopefully we've well prepared you. So if you do venture into this, you know what you're getting into. But now we can jump into our favorite part, which is our spoilers. Kristen, do you want to do your favorite parts?
So, let me get my eyes. My eyeballs are itchy. My eyeballs are itchy. So I don't say I have like a favorite part where I'm just like, oh, this is the best part ever in the whole book. No, I just like how little things that happen throughout the book, or little instances that I thought were hilarious that happened throughout the book. Like, I guess there is one specific part that I do. I like when Mirak and Amber meet for the first time. I thought that was kind of hilarious, where they're like looking that, not necessarily just like I like it because it's like anything mind-numbingly great to me. It's more like, this is interesting. 2 different species coming together on on a planet and they're like meeting for the first time, and the interaction is very, in my opinion, funny. Like
Same.
she's got a knife, I think, at the time, or maybe she doesn't.
I think it's a spear.
She's got some kind of weapon.
Yeah, he would have killed her.
Yeah, not yet. But she does have some kind of weapon on her that doesn't go against his religious beliefs yet at that point. And Scott's somewhere in the back, and then Miorak meets her, and so they have this weird meeting. I think he touches her. I think he slightly touches her.
Yeah.
And then like she's just letting it happen. I think she touches him, and it's not like touching and anything sexual. It's just like
what are you? Yeah.
And then Scott comes out of nowhere and then just starts yelling. And the part I like about this is the language starts to show, where the author did a great job, and I think this is my favorite part of the language issue that they had right from the beginning of the book. Like, they speak English, and Miorek's listening. And so the way the author writes it in the book is, like, the English words are garbled together, so you could still read it.
Yes.
Yeah, you could still read it and understand it and as a human. However, you're reading it as if the lizard... as lizard mentality.
It's so like you're reading the sounds.
Yes, it was perfectly well done.
I
was like, this right here, if I give it a high rating, it's because of the way the author allowed us to see the difference in the language barrier between the two species. Well written.
It was perfectly done.
So that meeting, to me, was the pivotal part of the book where I'm just like, this right here proves to me that a language barrier book can be written and written well. So I was just like, this is interesting.
But also, before you jump into your next one, can we talk about the beginning of their meeting when we're in Amber's POV and she's trying to chase down an animal?
Yes.
She's getting her ass kicked. Like, she's really trying. And so we see her POV and we see her see the alien, and then it switches to Miorax, and he goes back to talk about how he's watching her.
Be crazy. That whole part, I think, definitely is probably one of my favorite parts. And it's early on in the book. I say 30% of the way through, maybe a little less than that. But that part was fucking fantastic. I also like when Miorak decides Amber's my wife, and the way he does it too. So first of all, they're both having sex dreams of each other. They're both having sexual tension between each other. It's like long drawn out, definitely slow burn. But so like he just like shows her his knife. He's like, this is the knife of my father's, blah, 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 blah. And Amber's like, what the fuck is this?
She got woken up.
Yeah, she was sleeping. Because he had this dream, where's Epiphany, where he's now, like, supposed to be like, this is my wife, right? So, like, he just wakes her up and goes, this is my knife of my father. And she's like, what the fuck is this guy going on about?
And then he slams it in her hair.
Before that, though, she goes, oh, and this is my hair of my mother.
Right.
And she's like, what? And he's like, okay. And then, like, he takes the knife and slams it above her head and slices the thing of her hair off. And she's like, what the fuck? And so then he just is like, you could struggle, I'll like it. And I'm like, okay. I'm not into him trying to essay her, but she clearly...
She wanted it.
She wanted it. She did. She's like, I'm not going to stop him. So you have, like, them two different POVs. So, like, that whole time, they end up having sex, but that whole time is fucking hilarious.
Then he tells her, too, because he doesn't know if she knows how sex works. So he's like, this is my male member.
It's going in there.
It's going in there. I love that.
And she's like, lizard man. Okay.
Yeah, okay, whatever.
Oh, my God.
Sorry, it's fine, but you're in his POV when he's thinking this. He's like, this isn't going to be very sexy, but I just have to let her know first so that I don't scare her. I love it.
That whole part was funny. And, like, even before that, when she first finds out, because she first sees his dick, like, a while back. That whole part was fucking weird. Like, why are you fucking molesting this dude? And then to find out he was sleeping. Not sleeping, he was awake.
Yo, my notes were going off on this. I was like, in what world, Amber, would you think that you're gonna... First of all, I don't know why she's even in this brain space of the fact that he can't feel her. I don't know what made her think that. Oh, because she was pulling the things out and he couldn't feel the pain. So she's like, well, this must be... He can't feel his genitals being fondled. The whole time, I am just like, Amber, what the fuck are you doing?
Yeah, and then to find out he was just letting it happen. He's like, oh my God, this bitch is touching my dick.
I'm not gonna move. I'm gonna lay right here. I ain't even gonna get up to get my sword because she's gonna come back and she's gonna know I was awake.
And the funny thing was, he kept making sure he was naked every time she slept in his bed after. He's like, maybe she'll fondle me again. like, Mia, you're fucking wild. This is right before the sexy time.
Yeah.
But oh my god, he's like, maybe she just doesn't understand that what she saw was my dick. Because human's dick is flabby and nasty.
And gross. Mine is way better. Mine's bigger too. I don't know what she's doing over those ones. And it's so funny that he's been seeing these male dicks because the guys are going pee in front of him. Also, people are just having sex all over the place around him.
It's so funny. And then I love the part that Mirek just slapping bitches around. He's just like, fuck you, Scott. Fuck you, Chadwick. Fuck you. Just slapping it. He's just slapping people. He's slapping them so hard they're flying across the thing. Oh my god.
I love that.
So fucking funny. And there's another part where Mirek and Amber just like, they have this tension where he's just like, woman, stop it. And she's just like, well, stop saving me, blah, 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 blah. And he's like, well, I keep you around because you teach me things. And she's like, what are you being taught now? He goes, patience. You're teaching me patience. I'm like, this guy he is fantastic. I love him. Yeah. I mean, there's a whole bunch of other more parts. I also like the ending. The ending describes the whole book and why everything's happening. Mm-hmm. I thought that was very well written. Yeah. I love the fact that they were not religious people the whole time. They were a botanist, a mechanic,
they weren't prophets.
No, they weren't. They were actual. And the crazy thing is, even though I'm not a religious person, but even though they weren't religious prophets brought together, the fact that they were different people from different walks of life with different expertise managed to get together anyways to form this like well thought out religion aspect to keep everybody in check. Very smart. And the idea of it is like, there's this whole thing where God gives you a boat, a helicopter, and if you don't take one of those, you denied God's actual help. There's that saying, like, oh, we gave you a boat, we gave you a helicopter, you decided you didn't want to. I gave you two things, you didn't go on it. It's that whole thing where, like, God gave these people the ability to come together. They should have taken it to help civilization, and they took that opportunity to do it. And even though it may have looked with good intentions, it ended up being with bad, ended up happening badly for some people or lizards in the whole community. So it's really well written at the end. I thought the way the author wrote that and how it came to be it was intelligent.
And like they put this fake religion in here for a good cause. I mean, they weren't trying to be malicious and create this like huge patriarchy and we damn the women, and that wasn't their goal. No, they just wanted to help continue to get the world back on track and to have people live a certain way so that they could tame the infection that was spreading through everybody. Yeah,
because they found out that the only group of people that were able to survive together was this religion-based community. And they took some aspects of that religion that made everybody live together. They utilized it, and then they wanted to be able to protect the women from the sex, because like what was thrown in the air caused men to be more violent and sexually aggressive when they fought, and the women became depressed because of the way the biological warfare happens. It made women more subservient and sad and depressed. And so they didn't really want to fight. That's why they ended up being the way they were, and the men ended up being extremely aggressive. So they thought, okay, well, we need to protect our women, and then by doing so, they made them vulnerable to more of these issues.
Because men were too easy to be like overcome with their like sexual want. Like if you saw somebody, it just like erupted in you and you had to have them.
Yeah, it didn't matter male or female.
It didn't matter male or female, and it was like a blackout state. So they literally couldn't control it, and it was only through establishing this religion that you're almost able to kind of start breeding it out, because now they can have a little bit more of control over it. But it hasn't been bred out of civilization when we're with them. So they're still dealing with those parts of it, and I thought that was great. And that answers a lot of the question of why is there so much. Because I was thinking
sexual assault.
When you meet the raider and he raped and he got raped, I was like, this is a lot of rape.
A lot.
But then when you get to the end of it, you're like, okay, it didn't. because at first I'm accepting of it because it feels realistic in my worldview, right? Like you kidnap a girl, I just assume you're gonna rape her. Like
exactly.
And so I just felt that way. But then when it got to the raider, it was like, this is a lot. But then I like that it wasn't for just to make the world evil. It was literally specifically
there was a biological issue, and there were also times too when you're just like, okay, the raping's a thing, but now the violence is like they're all blacking out. Yeah. Why are people blacking out? And then there was a couple things where they would go to the ruins, this was told great too. Mm-hmm. When they would go to the ruins, you would start to see pieces of the story being put together. You saw like a woman being like raped to death, and then other guys dying and fighting to death in the same area. And like Amber's like, what the
And
fuck?
It was like a lab.
Yeah.
So and that's her first inkling.
It's like an office space. Yeah. She's like, something isn't right here. And then she realized, well, Miorak, he's not actually all that well. He blacks out sometimes and there was a couple times where she saw it personally with him, that he got too excited. And that's the thing, is the guys can't get too excited. When they do, they don't know how to shut it off.
Yeah, or
whether
angry.
Fighting or sex.
And the tell is their throat heats up. It starts to get orange or something. But then also she noticed that the land was dead too. Like there was it wasn't as it should be, and it rained all the time. Like she couldn't see the sun. It was just it looked like the land as well as the inhabitants had not recovered from whatever had happened. Yeah. And I love that as she's going through the ruins, there's robots. Like you can tell that this was an advanced civilization, which is so cool because that's the civilization she came from as well. So they were talking about, hey, we have these same cleaning bots. So it's cool to see how the author did these parallel worlds and
they still very similar.
Yeah, that they're very similar, even though we don't even know where this other planet is.
There was times where I was thinking, I was like, is this a Planet of the Apes situation? But it wasn't enough time. It was like 266 years. Yeah. So I was just like, okay, it can't be. It can't be Planet of the Apes situation. And plus she was seeing lizard people on the screen. Yeah. So I was like, no, this can't be Earth. So I'm just going to throw that out of my head. I ended up throwing it out of my head after they went to the first ruins and they saw lizard people. Yes. And I was like, yeah, this isn't Earth.
Yeah, this is actually...
Yeah, this is actually a whole different planet. Yeah. But yeah, besides, like, without having to talk about too much of the book, those are my, like, main good parts of the book. The not so good parts is obviously the amount of rape. Like, yeah, I get it. It's part of the book. I still hate it. You know, I still hate it. I didn't knock it down points because of how much rape is in the book. I just could say I hate it. You know, it's a part of dislike of the book. I don't like it. There's parts where she had to get into detail because if you're wanting to understand how a human and an alien lizard could get together, you kind of have to know that. So, like, it's kind of descriptive for that purpose. And you get to understand, basically, because the ending of the book and how it ends, you have to know certain things that are happening. But I still hated it. I still hated reading about all the sexual shit Amber had to go through. Because there was one where she gets captured and it was like, this guy is disgusting. So I guess it's more so I hated the fucking guy.
But also, I'll say, I hated this too, but what I liked that she did is that because Amber is not a alien, her parts work differently. And so once another alien was in there and discovered something quite different, it made sense that it was like every day, every hour, 4 times. Like, it made sense because she's softer and she's not like, apparently the females have like something they have to like break into or like something
knots. It's a knot thing.
Yeah.
If you read knot books, it's very similar to the knotting books.
So anyway, her being so different and her being used and abused made even more sense.
She was open all the time.
Yeah, open and oiled.
Yeah. They're like, ew, she oils like a guy. Yeah. Because the guy's oil.
So I like that aspect of it, even though I hated reading about it. It made sense because and then you get to like
it was torn. I was torn. Like I understand where this is coming from. I get that I need to read about this to understand the plot. It is necessary to the plot. However, I'm just like I still fucking hate it. I hate reading it. It's grossing me out. But like,
it was executed so well that I hated it.
Yeah, I don't know how else to put it, but yeah, that's perfect. But I do believe that there was one part where I'm just like, do we really have to do this? And it was closer to the end when she gets captured again by that one dude she thought she killed. I get they did do that whole thing again. But they didn't describe the rape, which was thank fucking God. But yeah, I was just like, does she have to get raped 1,000,000 more times? But then when you get to the end, you understand. But still, it's just like, I still hated it. I'm like, more rape? But then Scott gets raped too. They talk about raping him. Which I was just like, sorry, this dude. fuck this dude. I hope he dies. Like, even to the end, he was just... Oh, I fucking hated him. I hated
him too. Yeah, I was like, I don't know, Scott. Sorry, you fucking got the bed that you made right there. That's what you get. I'm sorry for you.
Everything about Scott, I hated. Just I'm gonna throw the hate parts in now. I fucking hated everything about Scott, and I hated that Amber still wanted to protect everybody as a whole. I get it. She's like, oh, these are the last bit of humans. They're the fuck them. Fuck them. If those humans were the only humans left in the world, and that's how they are, kill them all.
Yeah.
Kill them the fuck all. Mm-hmm. I can't stand her sister. I hated Scott. I hated Eric. I hated all of them. Fuck, there's not enough people anyways to continue the human race. Kill them.
Yeah. Yep.
Fuck, I can't stand them. Kill them. Kill the lizards that are all being assholes too. Kill all of them.
Yeah. And also, I've never seen a bigger set of male pussies than Eric. What is his name?
I want to say Chadwell. Something.
Chadwell. I don't know. Fuck you.
Yeah.
And Scott, like... They were all on Amber's side, but they were like the biggest bitches I've ever seen because they were like, well, Scott, what if he talks badly about us? Like, you're a bitch, bro. Like, Mr. I would punch you in the head. Yeah. Mr. Yao, it's like, oh, yeah, we believe you, Amber. We're on your side, but we're really scared of Scott. It's like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
The only one who had any balls in this entire group was Amber because she was the only one coming to them with solutions, coming to them with ideas. Mm-hmm. And I love that they labeled her as just a bitch. Like, that's the only thing that they had. She was right 90% of the time. She had all these great ideas. But because she's assertive and because she was a strong woman, immediately she's fat and she's a bitch. It's just like, okay, I got nothing else.
Yeah, I was so sick of that. And also, the other story I like to add in here that was kind of just thrown is when Nikki finally tells what happened to the group. The Maria story. I absolutely hated that fucking story, but it made sense. It made fucking sense. And the humans that did this to this fucking poor ass woman, they weren't no biological warfare mess.
No.
They weren't chemically induced with something to make them like this. So I'd like to say that in there. The lizards, sure, this was ingrained into their fucking being, and sometimes they blacked out, they didn't have control. Some of them did have control, I'm not going to take that away. But the humans... 100% control over their fucking goddamn actions, and there was no biological issue on it. They fucking... One guy was with this girl, had a baby with her, she was pregnant. They decided for whatever fucking reason to beat the living shit out of her to make her bleed the baby out. Then when she wouldn't stop bleeding, they decided to just leave her there like they did with Amber. And then on the way back, as she's crying and pleading to stay... They see animals going in her direction to fucking kill her.
And they heard her.
They heard her screaming.
I don't even know. Because, like, you are still in a civilization where they're having babies.
Yeah.
Like, it's not like you guys were the only people in this entire land where nobody could have helped her have this baby. I don't even understand. Then don't fucking have sex.
And they wanted to have babies. They said this is the colony.
Yes, that was his whole fucking thing.
Yeah.
But it was because they were on the mission for the ship now. It wasn't about the colony anymore. It was about getting out. I couldn't believe it.
That ship thing, when Scott blew up the ship, fucking great. Fuck him.
Yep.
I thought it was hilarious. He's like, look at I found the ship. Bitch, they ain't going nowhere.
It was poetic justice that's what ended up killing him. Even though I will say what I wanted was a Mirek to kill him. I was waiting. When he hit her in the head with the shovel or the fucking flashlight, I wrote my notes. I was like, oh, you're going to die.
I thought so too.
And they didn't kill him, but he knew he hit her.
He saw the plastic in her hair. I was like, Mirek, kill this fucking asshole.
But I understand...
He was doing it for
that
her.
If he would have killed Scott at any point, she would have been upset about it.
Well, they also made a point. Mirek made a great fucking point, saying the worst thing you could do to people who are stupid to follow is to kill their leader.
Yeah,
that applies to political shit today. FYI, that's what I'm saying. I was like, this makes a point. It's a good point.
Highlight this quote.
Yeah.
No, but I really wanted Mirek to kill him, but I understand why, and I'm happy with the fact that the ship that he searched so high for, even though it was so stupid. Amber was making all the best points. Even if you found the ship, how are you going to navigate it? Where's the fuel to get it? Where's the food? What? You have no way. You don't even know where the fuck you are.
Yeah, how are you going to navigate? Put it in your fucking planetary positioning to get to Earth. Who's to say Earth's still okay?
Yeah, they had. So he's such an idiot, and I'm glad that that's what killed him. But Still.
Also her sister. Fucking hate her sister. Fuck her sister. I can't stand her sister. Her sister is a piece of shit, blaming Amber for everything. Bitch, just stayed. You should have just stayed. You should have fucking stayed.
Amber said, okay, you can be on the street or you can come with me. You made the fucking decision, but you want to blame her the entire time. You made me do this.
Yeah, and then you're going to take care of me, and I know we both hate this part. We both have to hate this part. Oh, yeah, because when she tried to seduce Miorek so that when she could... Yeah, I was like... First she goes to her sister and says, take care of me. And then when she goes, no, bitch, I'm going to help you, bitch. I'm not going to take care of you. Hold your hand. And then she goes and tries to seduce Miorek.
It was so funny too because he was so innocent, but like you could see it happening, and he was like, "Oh, this is weird," and I was my notes were going crazy. I was like, "Excuse me," and then she would do something else, and I'm like, "Bitch." Yeah. And she would do something. It wasn't until like 4 of those in that he was like,
"Yeah." He never even told Amber.
No, and he fucking blew up her spot too. Yeah. He was like, "You're fucking disgusting. You're lucky I don't kill you right now." I'm like, "That's."
Yeah.
That's my fucking man right there.
I loved him for that. Mm-hmm. He's like, don't even touch me. The only reason why you're alive is because you're bloodkin. Like, that's it. Like, get the fuck away from me. You're disgusting.
And can I just say, she is so stupid because why would you think that she wouldn't have taken you along? I mean, yes, she said you need to do things on your own, but not at one point was she like, no, I'm not taking you at all. You're just going to survive on this alien planet. Even Miorek knew that she was part of the equation before he even took Amber, because he had that dream where he was fucking Amber.
Do I have to have both of them?
Amber was sitting there. I mean, Nikki was sitting there. So it's like they didn't even have a discussion that she was coming, but he already knew. Amber already knew because obviously, but Nikki is the only one over here like, she's not going to take me, so I'm going to take her man. Like,
yeah. I'm glad she died too. Now, I'm a little unclear because I was reading it when I was tired. How she died? I know she died of the hook too.
Yeah, she killed herself.
Did she kill herself? Mm-hmm. Okay, I just want to make sure she killed herself because it sounded like she was going after Amber, and I think it was all a ploy to get close to Amber to get the thing. But she ends up killing herself to save her sister at the very end. But I don't know if it was really to save her sister.
I don't think it was to save her sister.
Or just to get away from everything.
It was to...
She just couldn't do it anymore.
But then it was to kill herself so that Amber felt like it was her fault the entire time. Because she even says, like, this is all your fault. And I think it was literally...
That, but I don't think she wanted to do anything anymore. I think she was done.
Oh, yeah, no. I think she was... It was a suicide for sure to get her out of this, but she wanted to make damn sure that Amber felt about it. Yeah. Felt it was her fault the entire time.
I thought she was going to kill Amber.
I did too. For a hot minute.
Yeah. I was like, oh, she's going to kill Amber. Or at least hurt Amber, and the Murek's going to have to save Amber again. Yeah. But I also love the fact that Amber saves Murek as many times as Murek saves Amber. Yeah. Because, like, she's a badass bitch, and she's been killing people left and right. And Murek told Isis, like, oh, who really killed Zio, whatever his name is. Mm-hmm. He's like, I thought I killed him, but apparently it must have been Amber, wasn't it? How did she fucking do it? Did she make him cry? Yeah, and I was like...
He knows it.
He knows, yeah. He's like, I get it. I didn't kill him. She killed him. Mm-hmm, yeah.
Mm-hmm. I also love that... well, I don't love this, but this is another point for I hate Nikki. Oh. How are you gonna fuck your sister's nemesis? Yeah. When you have all decided to leave her to die and be eaten by the animals.
Fucking Scott.
Excuse me? Yeah. Like, okay, if you want to grieve, that's your way to grieve, go fuck somebody else. Like, don't fuck him. Yeah. Oh my God. I was so appalled.
When you found out that she fucked Scott that night?
That night.
The night she left her sister?
The night her sister's dying, well, you know, as far as they're concerned, dying and being eaten by these fucking animals. Like, I fucking hate it. Yeah. I hate her so much. She was like, Taryn from Book of the Air, hold my beer. I'll show you how to be a bad sister.
The worst fucking sister ever. The worst. She wouldn't stand up for her sister at any point in time. She didn't want to stay at her sister's sickbed. She didn't want to do fucking shit.
She always went off like a little, like every time stuff happened, she was like, oh, I'll stay here just for you to keep me warm or just for you to do things for me. But then I'm going to go back to everybody else and talk shit about you.
You know what pissed me off is when she was finally trying to make her bedding and the leathers and stuff like that. Because Mia was teaching her how to do it. And then Nikki came over and she's like, oh, how about I sleep on this half the day? Mm-hmm. And then you sleep on it. Mirek's like, no, you don't fucking sleep on shit. And Amber was like, well, you can sleep on it, but you're carrying it. Mm-hmm. And then she's like, oh, you're such a bitch. It's like, oh my God. I would have left all these motherfuckers and went off with Mira.
Yeah, once they were separated,
I would have not asked for him, but she kept looking for them. That was pissing me off a little bit.
Yeah,
with Amber.
but it does make sense.
She was. I get it. She was looking for her sister. But she needed to detach from these human fucking fucks.
She did
so much, and it was irritating me. I love when Mira found out that they went through the tunnel and then thought, oh, they're fucking dead, and was like, you know what? I'm not telling Amber. She's got a soft heart. She won't understand. So there's a lot of miscommunication with that. He lied. He straight lied. Like his religious beliefs were starting to quander because he was like, no, I didn't see no human tracks.
Like, oh yeah, I lost them. I don't know. The
Oh.
building caved in. I couldn't follow it, or the sewer caved in. I don't know. When he's dragging that robot around, it's so fucking funny.
The crazy thing is like he did try.
He did
try to find them, but then once he saw it got to a point, he's like, "Nah, I'm going back to my Amber."
Yeah, well, the fucking sewer collapsed.
Yeah.
He's like, "What the fuck ever? I don't care."
He didn't even tell her.
I ain't going through all this for these stupid humans.
He's like, "I put in enough energy. I got my Amber. That's all I need."
Amber.
He's like, "Yeah."
I love that they had no conversation about cultural expectations after sex, before sex, during sex. Like, out of nowhere, she has sex and she's married.
Yeah,
it's like, wait a minute.
Listen, man, stop. We're not married. He's like, what do you mean we're married?
No.
I had sex with you 3 times. That's the thing of creation. You are now having my son.
Yes.
Yeah, he's like, we need to hurry up, get this pilgrimage and go home because you gotta have my kid. And she's like, what? I can't have your kid, which is kind of crazy because she can.
Yes,
They found out.
They did find out.
That's also pretty crazy.
That is crazy. The explanation there also was kind of cool. Like, it was explained as to why
it was
she
explained,
could.
yeah. But it was still, like, definitely sci-fi explained. So it wasn't like, oh, it's an intricate fucking scientific thing. It was just like, oh, this happened because of this. And it's just like, oh, you gotta accept it. It's a sci-fi explanation.
It's fine.
Yeah.
I will say some of my favorite parts, other than the ones that we just talked about, when Amber gets kidnapped by the Raiders and Mirak is on his way to go find his bitch, and he goes to this town that's the wrong town.
He's
and
so upset.
they're like taking their sweet ass time. Who are you? You're not a regular warrior or god warrior, whatever they call him. And he's like so slowly losing his fucking mind. And it gets to a point where he's just threatening, like, I'm just gonna come through this gate and fucking kill everybody if you don't open this up.
Yeah.
I love him.
Yeah.
And his delicate hold on his patience. And every time that gets challenged, he's like incrementally coming to kill your ass. Yeah. And I loved all of that. It was so funny. Also, one of my other favorite parts is when Amber is going to perform a little bit southerly on him, and he is so sweet. I love him so much. But she's like, she like gets down on her knees and she's like messing around right there, and he's like like freaking out. She's like, stopping, do you need to pray about this? And he's like, yeah, let me just pray. He sits back and he comes back. He's like, okay, so the God says that anything that we do together is fine
because we're married.
Yeah. And so she proceeds to go a little bit crazier, and like he comes out, and so she gets a little bit crazier, and he's like, wait, I have to pray. So he does it. He goes, okay, I've confirmed that everything that we do is holy. But what I think I love that she did is that she remembers that he straight up was like, my member goes in you, and like laid out what he was gonna do. And so she's like, okay, I'm just gonna tell you what I'm gonna do, and we can take it from there. And she's like, I'm putting that in here
in my mouth,
and if something comes out, I may or may not swallow that.
Yeah.
Is that okay with you? Do you need to pray on that? And he's like, yeah, I'm gonna pray.
The whole time this is happening.
And she's just sitting there, and I just think that's so funny because
he takes a while too.
He takes a while. It's a lot. He has no idea what this is because obviously they're lizard mouths. Like they don't have.
Which we talked about before. I was like, how are they gonna suck? Like they have no mouth.
Nope. Yep. So this is a new experience for him, and he does his little pray. For a while, but yeah, she's sitting there. But what I like is that we're always kind of talking about our consent daddies, but this was such a consent mommy moment. The fact that she's like, clinically, I am doing this, and this. Do you want to do this? And even he has a conversation like, do you want to do this? I don't think that you want to do this. She's like, no, I want to do it, but if it feels like it's corrupting you, I won't do it. But I want to do it, and I'll be happy to do it.
And she actually is like, I want nothing more but to do this.
Yes.
But I don't want to do it if it's going to make you feel like you're going to be corrupted. And he's like, oh, I got to think on this. Am I corrupted?
Well, I got to pray. Just got to discuss this with the God first. I don't know. I'm always a sucker for a sexy, funny moment. And always cracking me up.
So awkward.
Every one of his, like, hold on.
I gotta pray.
Let me pray.
And then at one point in time, he's like, because she does do it, he does get the confirmation and she does go through with it. And he's like, hold on a second, you're being too much right now. You gotta kind of stop for a second. And she's just like, okay.
Okay, and she does it so well. She's like, okay. Like, I'm just gonna sit here on my knees and just watch you and tell me when you're ready. It was just
because she was loving it. She was enjoying the fact that he couldn't contain himself.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was hilarious.
And let's see. Oh yeah. So those are my funny ones, but I did have some other things to talk about. Okay, one thing I did love. I love when she's with the Raider, and there's a couple things that come out of the Raider situation, but one of them that I like, because we don't know up until the point when she's with the Raider whether or not their God in situation is true, right? Everybody believes it. Mirorak, obviously, his entire life revolves around God. That's his station in this life is to be God's warrior.
Yeah.
And so we don't really know if this is actually true or not, but when she's with the Raider, he randomly tells her that, like, he was raped by his teacher. Yeah. And they went to trial, and the way that they do their trials is that God is supposed to take over them when they black out, and then whoever's the victor is the one that God deems as being true. Yeah. He didn't lose. The priest didn't lose because he said the priest raped me. They went in front of the thing to have the trial. The priest didn't die. And that's the moment that it tells you that everything is a lie. All of their religion is a lie because, first of all, why would the Raider be lying to her? He's like randomly telling this story. So I liked how she did that this was like an inkling of telling you, hey, this religion actually isn't real. Yeah. It's actually fake. And that's why he left. That's why he got...
Because he was supposed to be another sort of the god.
Mm-hmm. And he went through all of the training but stopped because of that. Mm-hmm. And because they were like, well, you're a liar, so they kicked him out. But, like, I believed him.
Not only that, they made him go back to the teacher.
And he kept getting raped by the teacher.
Every night. And then finally, I think he ended up killing him. I can't remember.
Yeah, he did end up killing. That's what got him.
That's what he's like. Out. It wasn't the fact that I got kicked out for lying. It was the fact that they made me go back to him every night and get raped every fucking night. And then he's like, and then I killed him. I don't remember why he killed him though.
Because he was raping him.
Wasn't there something like there was an instance though that caused him to kill him? I can't remember what the instance was. But yeah, essentially he killed him because he was being raped. But there was like an actual event that took place, and he was just like, "No, I'm fucking killing him."
Yeah, this is the end.
Yeah, something else happened, and he's like, "I can't take it anymore." Something made him pop off. That's what it is. I don't remember.
I don't remember either.
Yeah, I can't remember.
But another thing that came out of this too that I liked is he's talking to Amber, the Raider, is about how even when your man, because they end up finding out that it's a warrior that's coming, a god warrior. Yeah. And he's like, when your man comes, he's not going to want you because you've been tainted, you've fallen into Gann now. And you're almost thinking about it. Like, I was thinking about it. I'm like, oh, because Mirorak is so in his religion. Yeah. Like, he lives it, breathes it. He almost killed Amber over it. Yeah. And so I'm thinking about it. Like, oh, no. When he comes back, I wonder how he's going to react. This man didn't even care. He's like... No. You were mine. Never, even when that situation was happening, you were still mine.
He still called her faithful.
Called her
which in my opinion was fantastic of him to say you were faithful. She's like, stop calling me faithful. You know that wasn't true. And he goes, oh no, it was. Like, yeah, you were faithful to me.
I like that he obviously understood that she was being sexually assaulted against her will. So whatever happened over there,
that she wasn't faithful. Yeah, it was that she had no option. She was doing it for survival. And he forgives her. God forgives her. He was even telling all the women that were forced into that were forgiven too under his religion because they were not wanting to do any of that. Yes. They were being sold. And he's like, and then even though it's kind of shitty, he married them off to the good soldiers. I mean, he did it for their protection as well because these unmarried supposed women of Sale could not go into the next city without being properly wedded and stuff. So he did it for their protection.
And they would have just been abused and sold back out if they were by themselves.
But they all went to good men, as he said. And they were good men. They all followed him and they didn't touch the women without, because there was an actual religion put in place to protect the women. Women couldn't be touched during their sick time. Women couldn't be touched during their when they were mothers. And even the Raider guy believed that. Yes. Even the Raider guy was like, no one's allowed to fucking touch her while she's got my kid. Yeah. So, like, he was a piece of shit, but, like, you could still see elements of how they were trying to protect the women, even though...
Because at the heart of the reason for this religion was to protect the women. It's just that when when you're giving people so much power corrupts absolutely. Yeah. And so when you give these men all of this fucking power and you make these women subservient, like that's going to become corrupted over time. Yeah, so easily. They were set there 100% to protect them, even explaining why they like covered them in public, like they had to be in covered carriages, or why they had to work for houses underground where nobody could see them. All seems very misogynistic, and it is, but it was put there not to be that way.
They weren't even allowed to see the women. Like the men growing up in the training were not allowed to even see women. Yes. Only the head of the household was allowed to be around the women.
And he could, and that is bad that he could screw any one of them that he wanted. But it was all in keeping with trying.
Most of them didn't, though.
Most of them didn't.
His Mirek's dad did not want to. He only wanted to be with his mom. Which was very sweet when you talked about that story. Mm-hmm. Mirek's dad only wanted to be with Mirek's mom.
Because he loved his mom. And I love that. It. I like this conundrum where, like, he hated it and he was so disgusted with his dad for being this way. But then when he falls in love, he's like, I feel so bad. And he, like, sees his mom when he dies, when he's sleeping. When he's unconscious or whatever. And he's like, I'm so sorry. Like, I didn't understand. Because nobody talks about, there is no love in this world.
No, it wasn't meant, you couldn't love in this world because of the way things were. So, yeah, they were so bent on making sure that they weren't violent or over sexual that they never discussed. Maybe love could be a factor of causing them to keep their shit together. Yeah. And that's what happened. Love of God and love of self and love of another person is what kept Miorek in check.
Yes. 100%.
And the father, too. Yes. His father, too.
Yes. And I love that Miorek was, like, Amber taught him a lot of things other than just patience, but she had him questioning a lot of his shit. And I like that he was able to sort of mold things around it. Like, she would bring new ideas to him, and he's like, I need to go pray on this. And he would go pray, and he'd think about it. And sometimes he'd be able to fit it into his religion, but sometimes he wouldn't. And he almost allowed that to exist with him. Yeah. Like, this isn't part of my religion, but also, like, she makes sense. And I like that everybody else was discrediting everything she was fucking saying and everything she was doing by just calling her fat and saying she's a bitch. Like, that's all they had. But Miorek was like, that's a great point. Let me think about this and what you're saying. I love that. I love that so much.
He was a very sensible dude for a religious zealot.
Yeah. He really wasn't just like, no, that's not in my book. He was like, let me think. Yeah. Let me go pray.
Yeah, I really enjoyed him as a character. I enjoyed Amber as a character because she, too, opened up to a lot of his religion beliefs. Mm-hmm. She didn't mock him, even though the humans were being shitbags and they were comparing his religion to Jesus. She didn't mock him. She just said, oh, you're just she would give him shit every now and then. She didn't, like, entirely allow him to be a religious freak or a sexist piece of shit. Because she would tell him, she's like, oh, you're being fucking sexist. But I like it, so I'll let it be. I like
it calls her a woman.
Yeah. And she would tell people there's only one fucker who could call me woman, and you're not it. Yeah. And I'm just I kind of like that. Because, like, I would be the same way. Like, I'll let you call me woman. Kind of like it. But
just
nobody else? Fuck you, yeah.
But I also I loved, because I felt a lot, I would be a lot like her in some of the situations where he would be like, oh, you're in Sheol, whatever their god's name is, Sheol. We're on Sheol's path. He'll look out for you. And she's like, oh my fucking God. Or she'll ask a question about, what are we doing here? Sheol knows. Oh, I like all the time. I'd be like, come the fuck on, man. Give me a real answer. I'm tired of this shit. Yeah. It was funny. I like that instead of mocking him, she brought real kind of dialogue about it. Like, hey, don't you think it's weird that, or don't you think that you'll just see God wherever you want to see God? Yeah. And he was like, no. Blah, 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 blah. But I like that it was it was a conversation instead of a complete absolute dismissal. Yeah. And even when he finds out that his religion is a hoax, she is still kind of there to be like, look, just because this form of God doesn't exist doesn't mean that God in general doesn't exist, or that there's not room for him in this universe. It's just not this way. Yeah. And I liked that. And she did such a good job, I think, the entire time his world was crumbling around him. She was like, I'm here. Like, it's okay.
And then, one part was asking her, what do you think of? He's like, my dead mom. I'm sorry. I probably should be talking about something else. He's like, no, I love that you're real with me and you're honest with me. Mm-hmm. I also enjoy the fact that, like, she even said, she's not a religious person, but she was like, if I could believe in anything that shows that there is some kind of religion or some kind of divine intervention, is I came here. Because he even mentioned that to her too. He's like, you're here for me. And she's like, I actually agree with you on that. Like, I came here out of all the planets, out of all the events, of all the things that could have happened. I got here and I was landed and I'm with you. She's like, and I'm having your baby. Like, she's like, that's crazy. That's intervention. And it has nothing to do with God's wrath, biological warfare. Yeah. I'm just able to have your baby. So it actually has to do with more of the vaccine that she took or something like that. But
it's
she's still able to have his baby. Like, that's crazy. Which I hope is his baby. I'm assuming so. I think they kind of dived into that and said the way her period was and the timing of the other guy, it didn't make sense. She said she was too far along to be the other guys.
And also, I mean, you know, if we want to say, he also said this is when it happened. Yeah. Because he knew right away, oh, you're pregnant. This one was different. I know you're pregnant. That's my baby. So we got to hurry up and get home. So
yeah, he's like, because they were having multitudes of fucking sex. Yeah. They were in the cave for how many days?
For the whole winter.
Having
all of winter.
Sex constantly. Yeah. Every day, nonstop. So it was like.
Yeah, it was
It was his baby. Yeah. I didn't actually doubt that at all. But there was parts where I was just like, please don't. Please don't. I'm like, I really want it to be his baby. And the crazy thing is that I'm not into like pregnancy romance things, but like it didn't inhibit the book from being a good book at all. It was really good. Yeah. The pregnancy actually kind of added to it.
Yeah, it's kind of solidified them to
their bond. Yeah. At the very end.
And I was worried that when his world came down that God wasn't there, that he was going to reject Amber, only because he kept referring to the fact that God gave her to him. And if that God isn't there to give her to him, I was like, are you still going to accept her? Like, do you still like her? Because if that's your whole foundation for wanting her in the first place, because you had this epiphany of a dream that God sent her for you, because he kept calling her ugly. But though, to be fair, he calls her beautiful at the very end, but he's like, this ugly girl, this girl, blah, blah, blah. But yeah. I think that
it's ugly face.
Yeah, I think it's ugly in an endearing way. Because, like, obviously a lizard's going to be ugly. Like, you're not going to look at the lizard and be like, wow, it's a fucking handsome ass lizard.
Maybe she does. I don't know.
You know, I saw the fan art and I was like, I think he's kind of handsome. He's got a nice warrior body. I'm accepting. But I could see how she'd be like, yeah, he's got an ugly face. Because it's not what I'm used to seeing. But yeah, I was worried for a hot second, but it's good. One final thing that I would like to say anyways is I love the fact that the author left a lot of things undisclosed. Yeah. So for instance, one of the first things is Scott being the one to inject her with this fucking thing. Nobody knows that was him.
Oh, yeah.
That never came out. He got away with that.
Yeah. I mean, he kind of said something at the very end where he's like, if it would have happened when I was supposed to have done, she would have died. Yeah. When he made that very vague statement. Yes. We all know what he meant. We know what he meant. But, like, I think everybody was still questioning, like, what do you mean by that?
Yeah. I don't think that anybody specifically placed it to have said, oh, he's the one who injected me with this medicine. Mirawak didn't do it. She didn't do it. So, as far as anybody's concerned, he got away with this shit.
Yeah, he did.
And also, nobody knows how long they were floating. And they're never going to know. Because they literally floated for, 260 years or something like that?
They don't know.
They'll never know. We are the only ones who know. And I like that the author did that because this feels... Sometimes it's okay to leave these sort of loops up where it's like just the reader's looped into the actuality of the situation, but in real life, you might not know that like Scott did this or how long you've been, or there was one other one, but I don't remember it. But I think you touched on it, but now my brain's not working.
There's also a few plot holes like I'd like to talk about too. Mm-hmm. There was a couple. Okay, the language thing, like when they get to the ruins. How, like, the humans, I know they pinpointed certain words, but it was like they understood everything that was being said on the radio waves. Amber understood. I know she's starting to understand the language, but at this point in time, the humans who weren't with Amber brought Amber over and goes, listen to this. Listen to what they're saying. It's like, are they starting to understand? It wasn't clear if they understood Lizard at the time.
I think that because they had spent, my understanding is that because they had spent so much time that they did understand a lot more. Maybe not 100% as Amber did, but they did understand a lot because they were even conversing with
the other lizards later down the road.
Yeah, but they were also conversing at that time with Mirawak. So I think they have a basic. Maybe they didn't get, a full 100% of the situation, but they could probably get, 60%.
Yeah. The also thing is about that is that even Mirawak was saying he didn't understand a lot of what they were saying because the language was different.
Yeah, from
what he was understood to the ancients. So the ancients is almost like they had a different language in between too. So that was not 100% clear because even when he would go to the lab, he said he didn't understand a lot of the writing in the labs. Mm-hmm. So that was like, okay, but Amber understood a lot of it. So it's just like, what point in time? I just kind of glossed over, like, I'm not even, doesn't really matter. That's what I ended up doing.
Maybe they could understand the name of the temple.
Yeah.
Right? Because he said that, and, like, there's a lizard on the screen saying, the temple, and they're like, that's where we're supposed to go.
I'm like, that's how I figured it, but I wasn't too sure, so I was like, it wasn't completely clear on how that was. And also, the other plot hole, I don't say it was a plot hole, it's more like, we kind of just, we're here, and then we're here. Like, at the very end, when they were just like, we're not going down this cliff. And then they're at the temple.
Oh.
Do you remember that? They had a whole huge issue about traveling. Because Mirek was like, oh, look at the ocean. Look at this. Oh, this is great. Isn't it beautiful? And they're like, yeah, but we're not going through all of this. We're not going down.
Yeah.
And then, bam, they're at the temple.
Yeah, I guess I didn't think about that. Because there's a lot of time jumps where they're just like, a year, or like fucking 6 months later than we're here. So I just kind of assumed that they just walked around and made it.
Yeah, they didn't talk about that
They didn't talk about it,
It was just like, so they did that quite a bit.
That's funny. I didn't even internalize
quite a bit. And I'm going to be honest, I enjoyed that they didn't tell the rest of the fucking story of that, but you could have mentioned it.
Yeah.
Like, how did all the rest of the humans get over there?
Yeah.
Because they were just like, no, we're not fucking doing it, blah, 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 blah. Then they're all there.
Yeah, yeah.
They did it quite a bit.
Yeah, I didn't catch that, but yes, I do think that that's kind of odd.
Yeah.
She could have at least said, after the strenuous walk.
Yeah, something.
Yeah.
We're just like, I'm not going there. We're at the temple.
Here we are.
What? I was thrown for a loop. That happened quite a bit throughout the book. Sometimes it was described too much. Mm-hmm. And then sometimes it was described not at all. And I was just like, I guess, whatever. I'm glad you cut that whole section out because I do not want to read about it.
Yeah, yes.
But yeah, that does happen. That did happen. And then I'm assuming when you're reading that, you'll kind of just like, what fucking happened just now? But,
you guys floated over there?
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, I just want to talk about one more thing. Mirawak turning into Mr. Possessive when he gets the humans back in his camp, and he's like, nobody fucking look at her, don't even fucking talk to her, like, you go over there, you eat what I give you, like, him turning into Mr. Bossman.
He was done.
I was so happy.
Yeah.
Thank God God he was there to, like, fucking be the man of the house and be like, absolutely fucking not. Don't even look at her, Nikki.
Yeah.
Like, I'll feed you when I want to feed you.
Because I was done with their shit.
He was done with their shit.
Yeah, I was like, please don't bring them back to camp. But, of course, he did for Amber.
Yeah, and he thought that the god put him back in his path.
Yeah.
To take care of him.
He's like, well, I guess I fucking have no choice because when I lost them, I lost Amber.
Yeah.
So he's like, this is what has to happen.
I hated those fucking humans.
Yeah, fuck them.
So glad they died.
Yeah, me too. Every single one of them.
Yeah.
I'm glad.
Yeah.
I was like, if not every single one of these fucking humans die, I hope to God, like, she, like, makes them servants in her household or some shit. Like, I'm done with this. I'm done with them.
I was scared for a long time that her or Mirak were gonna die, because if you read some of the 5-star reviews, they're like, this book was so emotional. Like, there must have been like 10 on the front page that were like so emotional. So at the end, like the last 40 pages, I think I told you that I was scared to finish it because I thought, I'm scared.
Was gonna die?
It was when they got recaptured. I was like, what's gonna happen?
Yeah.
Because it would be a crazy story to have her be this only human on this fucking alien planet, the last one.
And then she's having his baby.
Yeah. Oh my god, and that's the lord of this fucking house too. It's not even just like some other random lizard. He's like
his uncle or whatever was like, I'll take care of you. I'll marry you off to a...
Yeah.
I was just like, oh, he's gonna die.
That's what I thought. I was so scared. It took me a while to jump back in. I'm like, I don't want him to die. I like him a lot. Please don't die. But anyways.
Yeah.
All around, it was a good book. This is how you do a standalone, even though it was like 1,000 pages.
So long, though. Oh my god, so long. So be prepared for that long. Like, take a week out of your reading schedule for this book.
Even longer, because we took a week.
To be fair, I took a week because I took time off from reading for like maybe 5-6 days. So.
I took a week, and it was like I was reading every fucking day for like 2 hours a day.
Yeah.
Maybe a day or two off, but yeah, it was a long journey.
It took me about 4 days of nonstop reading to get through it.
Yeah. The one thing that I like though is I haven't had a book that's occupied my mind a lot when I'm not in the book, and I love those. Like when I'm not doing mundane shit and I'm like, my head is somewhere else. I'm with Amber. I'm like, when am I gonna be with Amber again? When am I gonna be with Mirag? Like when?
It was good. It was a good book.
It was nice. But anyways, so the next book for next week is Kristen's pick. This is her non-serious pick, though, to be fair.
Yeah, it's not something I was just, like, really, like, can't wait to read. It's definitely one of the, I just I picked this. It was actually recommended by a friend because I couldn't think of another monster book, and she's like, "Hey, read this one." I was like, "Okay." And to be fair, too, we were looking for a shorter one.
Yes.
To compare to go into our reading with the 700-page book of a crazy, Last Hour of Gann. So we needed something that was shorter, and this is a shorter book. It's like 250, 60 pages, something like that. Yeah. Definitely like a 1 day, 2 day read, maybe.
And it is rock hard gargoyle. You can tell it's
by
super
Maggie
serious.
Mayhem. That's her name.
Wow.
Maggie Mayhem. I'm guessing it's just like a little
pseudonym.
Yeah. It's supposed to be in like a series, I think, but I think you could still read this as a standalone.
Yeah, I think it's just like a series of like
Monsters.
monster books. Yeah, she has a bunch of them. Anyways, I am excited for this one because gargoyle is on our probably most likely list out of all of these monsters.
Oh God. Yeah.
But little did we know, Alien has been approved. I'm going to put a check on Alien. Yep, Alien in my column, a would. I would Miro rack.
See, the thing is, it's hard for me because, like, I say I would because of the circumstance, but, like, if he were to land down on this planet, no. I would not.
Yeah, it would definitely have to be...
Like, you and me are the only ones in this planet, and now I'm, like, proximity falling in love with you.
Oh, that's sad. He deserves better than that.
But see, it's because like I'm not trying to fuck him though. Like that's the thing. It's like I would be really cool with him on a friendship level, but like it would, like I said, it'd have to be forced proximity for me to be like, yeah, I guess I'll fuck you.
Amber enjoyed herself.
She did, but I'm not Amber. So
maybe it's just that you haven't had a taste of Alien yet. You don't know.
I'm fine with that. Like I'm fine. I don't really.
I don't know. I'll do. I mean, if I was in a world with all of the humans, maybe not. But like, if I was stuck with the 50 humans that she was stuck with,
it makes sense.
I would be like,
I'm not against Amber's choice. Trust me. I completely understand. I completely agree. If I were Amber, I would. But I wouldn't go searching for it. Let's just say.
No. But I don't know. He might win me over. Like, he came in all, like, pre-Raider energy. I might be convinced. I might be seduced.
Oh, man.
So, anyways, that's for me. I'm going to, like, put him in the middle for you.
Yeah, it's definitely...
conditional.
Yeah, forced proximity. Definitely.
All right, well, I'm ready for the next one then. So, of course, we are going to be here sometime next week on our next episode of doing Rock Hard Gargoyle.
Do you have to say it like that?
How else do I need to say it?
Doing Rock Hard Gargoyle. Okay.
Oh, I see. Yeah, well, I think that we will be.
We will be doing it. Yes, we will. Yeah, so if you don't want to miss us and you want to keep update with everything, don't forget to like and subscribe and follow us on all the other social stuff that we have. Not sure what we have anymore but we do have it. We have Spotify, YouTube, I think Amazon Music, yeah,
Instagram,
yeah, somewhere, all that stuff.
Yep, that's it. All right, guys, well, we'll see you in your next episode. Bye.